Welcome back, dear friends and story lovers. Tonight, we bring you a tale where love is tested, secrets come to light, and fate takes an unexpected turn. Every moment will pull you in deeper, and every choice could change everything. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And if this story touches your heart, like, subscribe, share it with someone who believes in true love, and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter. Let's dig in. The gunshot echoed through the empty warehouse like thunder, and Mara Chen dropped behind a shipping container, her heart hammering against her ribs. Blood trickled down her temple where concrete shards had cut her. 3 months of undercover work, 3 months of earning Vincent Corso's trust. And now, it was all falling apart because someone had blown her cover. You really thought you could fool me, detective? Vincent's voice carried across the cavernous space, smooth as silk and twice as dangerous. Did you think I wouldn't recognize the woman who put my brother behind bars? Mara pressed her back against the cold metal, her service weapon heavy in her trembling hands. Rain drummed against the warehouse roof and through the broken skylights. Seattle's neon glow painted everything in harsh reds and blues. She could smell motor oil, and fear could taste copper in her mouth. I know you're listening, Mara. Such a pretty name for such a pretty liar. Another shot, closer this time. Splinters of wood exploded near her head. She closed her eyes thinking of her sister Lily lying in that hospital bed, hooked to machines that beeped with mechanical precision. Stage 4. The doctors gave her 6 months, maybe 8, with experimental treatment that cost more than Mara made in 2 years. Everything she'd done, every line she'd crossed, had been for Lily. Your partner's dead, you know, Vincent called out, his footsteps echoing as he moved closer. Poor Rodriguez. He actually believed he was saving you when he came charging in. Here the words hit her like physical blows. Marcus Rodriguez, father of 3, grandfather of 2. Dead because she'd gotten too deep, stayed too long in the shadows. Mara stood up. Her weapon trained on Vincent's chest as he rounded the container. He was exactly as she remembered from their first meeting 3 months ago. Tall, dark-haired, with eyes the color of winter storms, those same eyes that had looked at her with something like tenderness just hours ago, before her world exploded. There she is, he said, his own gun steady in his hands. My beautiful betrayer. Vincent, his name came out like a prayer. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. His voice was arctic now, nothing left of the man who had held her in his arms, who had whispered promises she'd almost let herself believe. You destroyed my family. Yo. Your brother was trafficking kids. My brother was all I had left. They stood, there in the amber light, weapons drawn, hearts breaking in tandem. Mara could see the moment Vincent made his decision, could read it in the subtle shift of his stance, the way his finger moved to the trigger. But she was faster. The shot took him in the shoulder, spinning him around. He hit the ground hard, his gun skittering across the concrete. Mara moved quickly, kicking his weapon away before dropping to her knees beside him. You should have killed me, he said, his voice tight with pain. I couldn't. The admission tore from her throat. God help me, Vincent. I couldn't. His blood was warm on her hands as she pressed against the wound, and when he looked up at her, she saw something that made her chest ache. Not hatred, not even anger. Just a broken kind of understanding. This doesn't end here, he whispered. You know that, don't you? Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Back up. Too late for Marcus, but maybe not too late for her. Maybe not too late for them. No, she agreed, her voice barely audible over the approaching chaos. I don't think it does. 2 years later, Mara Chen sat in her car outside Sacred Heart Hospital, watching the rain streak down her windshield. The experimental treatment had given Lily 18 months of borrowed time that had cost Mara everything. Her badge, her reputation, her freedom. The money she'd taken from Vincent's operation had saved her sister's life, but it had also made her a criminal. Now Lily was gone anyway, and Mara was hollow. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello, beautiful betrayer. The voice made her blood freeze. Vincent Corso. Impossible. He was supposed to be in federal prison, locked away for 25 to life. Miss me. His voice carried that same dark silk she remembered, but there was something else now. Something harder. You're supposed to. Be in prison. Supposed to be.
But you know how these things go.
Good behavior. Overcrowding. A very expensive lawyer with flexible morals. She could hear his smile. I've been thinking about you, Mara. Every single day. For 731 days. Her hand moved instinctively to the gun at her. Hip, what do you want? To see you. To talk. There's a coffee shop on Pike Street, corner booth. You know the one. She did know it. They'd met there during her undercover assignment, when she'd still believed she could keep her heart separate from the job, before she'd fallen for a man she was supposed to destroy. And if I don't come, then I'll have to come to you. Mara, you won't like the conversation we have in public nearly as much as the one we could have in private. The line went dead. 20 minutes later, she pushed through the coffee shop door, her nerves strung tight as piano wire. Vincent sat in their old booth, and her breath caught. Prison had changed him. He was leaner now, harder edges where there had once been smooth charm. A thin scar ran from his left temple to his jaw, and his eyes held shadows that hadn't been there before. He looked up when she approached, and for a moment, time collapsed. She was back in that warehouse, her hands covered in his blood, her heart breaking with every breath. You look tired, he said. You look alive. She slid into the booth across from him, keeping her hands visible on the table. I heard about your shoulder, full recovery. Physical therapy is hell, but I have excellent motivation. His fingers drummed against his coffee cup. How's your sister? The question hit like a sucker punch. Dead. 6 months ago, something flickered in his expression. Surprise. Maybe even regret. I'm sorry, are you? She was innocent. I never go after innocence. Since when? You taught me the difference between justice and revenge? He leaned forward, and she caught his scent, still familiar after all this time. You destroyed my family, Mara. Took my brother, took my empire, took my freedom. But you saved my life that night in the warehouse, so we're even. Not even close. His voice dropped to a whisper. You also broke my heart. The admission hung between them like a loaded weapon. Mara forced herself to breathe, to think like a cop even though her badge was long gone. What do you want, Vincent? I want my life back. My organization, my territory, my reputation. And I want the woman who took it all to help me get it. You're insane, probably. But I'm also right. Know these streets, know the players, know how the system works. More importantly, you know me. He reached across the table, his fingers almost touching hers. Work with me, and I'll give you something no one else can, which is purpose. A reason to get up in the morning, a chance to matter again. She should leave, should walk away and never look back. But Lily was gone, and the silence in her apartment was deafening, and this man across from her was offering her the one thing she couldn't find anywhere else, a way to feel alive. One job, she heard herself say, just one. And then we're done. Vincent smiled, and it was sharp as a blade. We'll never be done, Mara. You know that as well as I do. Outside, thunder rolled across the Seattle sky, and Mara realized she'd just made a deal with the devil again. The warehouse Vincent chose for their base of operations overlooked Elliott Bay, its broken windows offering a perfect view of the city's glittering skyline. Mara stood at one of those windows now, watching ferries cut through the dark water, while Vincent briefed her on their target, Marcus Stone, the man who had taken over Vincent's territory while he was in prison. Stone's been selling to kids, Vincent said, his voice flat with controlled rage. Flooding middle schools with synthetic opioids. 8 overdoses last month. 3 of them died. Mara turned from the window. Since when do you care about dead? Children. Since I realized that some lines shouldn't be crossed. He looked up from the photos scattered across his makeshift desk. You taught me that too. It had been 3 weeks since their reunion in the coffee shop. 3 weeks of careful planning and electric tension. They worked well together, their skills complementary in ways that should have been impossible. She provided inside knowledge of police procedures and investigative techniques. He brought resources and connections that operated in the shadows beyond law, the enforcement's reach. But it was more than professional. Every accidental touch, every shared look, every moment they stood too close sent sparks through the air between them. The past hung over everything they did, a weight that made breathing difficult. The problem is Stone's security, Vincent continued, spreading blueprints across the table. He's paranoid. Never goes anywhere without at least 6 bodyguards. 7, Mara corrected, studying the building schematics. There's always one on the roof. How do you know that? She met his gaze. Because I've been watching him for 2 months. Ever since I heard he was moving product through the schools. Vincent stared at her. We're planning to take him down? Yourself. Someone had to. Using what resources? You're not a cop anymore, Mara. You don't have backup, don't have a badge to hide behind. You would have gotten yourself killed. Maybe that was the point. The words escaped before she could stop them, and the silence that followed was deafening. Vincent stood slowly, moving around the table until he was close enough to touch her.
Is
that what you want? To die? I want my sister back. I want Marcus Rodriguez back. I want to undo every mistake I've made since I met you. Her voice cracked. But since I can't have any of that, maybe stopping Stone is enough. It's not enough. His hands framed her face, forcing her to look at him. You're not disposable, Mara. Not to me. I betrayed you. You saved me. I destroyed your family. You gave me a chance to build something better. His thumb traced the scar on her cheek, a memento from their last encounter. I spent 2 years hating you, but hate and love are closer than people think. She should pull away, should maintain the professional distance they'd carefully constructed over the past 3 weeks. Instead, she leaned into his touch, her eyes closing as his forehead rested against hers. This is a mistake, she whispered. Probably the biggest one we'll ever make. He kissed her then, soft and desperate, tasting like coffee and dangerous promises. She kissed him back, pouring 2 years of loneliness and regret into the contact. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Vincent. His name was a prayer on her lips. I know this is complicated. I know we have a job to do. His hands were still on her face, still holding her like she might disappear. But after Stone is finished, after we've settled our accounts, I want to try something. What? Being honest with each other. No lies, no hidden agendas, no badges or criminal records between us. Just us. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed with a text message. Unknown number. I know what you're planning. Meet me at Pike Place Market, Vendor Row. Come alone or your cop friends. Learn about your new partnership. Mara showed Vincent. The screen, his expression went arctic. Stone knows, she said. How is that possible? I don't know, but we're blown. She was already reaching for her jacket. I have to go. Not alone. The message was clear. Mara, he caught her arm. This feels like a trap. Everything about this feels like a trap. She looked down at his hand on her arm, then back up at his face. But I've been trapped for so long. I'm not sure I know how to be free anymore. She kissed him once more, quick and fierce, then headed for the door. Behind her, Vincent called her name, but she didn't. Stop. She couldn't. Not when the game was changing again, and the stakes were higher than ever. Asterisk Pike Place Market at midnight was a ghost of its daytime chaos. Empty vendor stalls stretched like broken teeth, and the famous fish-throwing counters stood silent and dark. Mara moved through the shadows, her hands steady on her gun, every sense hyper-alert. She found him waiting by the flower vendor's booth, and her blood turned to ice. Detective Captain James Harrison, her former boss, the man who had signed her termination papers 2 years ago. Hello, Mara. Harrison stepped into the dim light cast by a security lamp. He looked older, grayer, but his eyes held the same sharp intelligence. She remembered, you look well. Criminal life seems to agree with you. How long have you been watching me? Since the day you walked out of my precinct in handcuffs. He moved closer, his coat rustling in the night breeze off. The sound? Did you really think we'd let you disappear? Vincent Corso's inside woman just vanishes into the wind? Please. I'm not his inside woman anymore. No. Then what exactly are you? Harrison pulled out his phone, showing her surveillance photos. Her and Vincent at the coffee shop, at the warehouse. The kiss from 3 hours ago, captured in perfect detail, 'cause this looks pretty inside to me. Mara's mind raced. You want something? Otherwise, you would have arrested me already. Smart girl. Always were the sharpest detective I ever supervised. Harrison pocketed his phone. Vincent Corso has something that belongs to us, specifically a hard drive containing the names and locations of every dirty cop, judge, and prosecutor in his pocket from the last 10 years. I don't know anything about a hard drive. Of course you don't. But you're going to help us get it anyway. Harrison's smile was cold as winter rain. Because if you don't, I'm going to make sure Vincent learns some very interesting facts about his devoted partner. What facts? Like how you never really left the force. How you've been feeding us information about his plans since the day you walked into that coffee shop. The lie hit her like a physical blow. That's not true, isn't it? How do you think? We knew to be watching? How do you think we knew about Stone's operation? Harrison stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Vincent's going to believe it, Mara, because deep down, he still doesn't trust you. How could he? You betrayed him once already, you bastard. Get us that hard drive and this conversation never happened. Refuse, and I'll destroy the only good thing in your pathetic life. He turned to go, then paused. Oh, and Mara. Vincent's planning to kill you once the Stone job is finished. We have it on tape. Sweet dreams. Harrison disappeared into the shadows, leaving Mara alone among the empty stalls. Her phone buzzed with another message, this one from Vincent. Where are you? We need to move on Stone tonight. Her hands shook as she typed back. On my way. But she wasn't. She was standing frozen in the place where her world had just collapsed again. If Harrison was telling the truth about the hard drive, Vincent had been playing a deeper game than she'd realized. And if Harrison was lying about Vincent's plans to kill her, it wouldn't matter. The seed of doubt was planted now, growing like poison in her chest. 20 minutes later, she walked back into the warehouse to find Vincent studying tactical maps. There you are. He looked up, smiling, and her heart broke all over again. I was starting to worry, checking our escape routes. The lie came easily, too easily. Good thinking. He moved to her, reaching out to touch her face. You look pale. Everything all right? This was her moment. She could tell him about Harrison, about the surveillance, about the threat hanging. Over both their heads, they could face it together, find another way. Instead, she found herself looking at him and wondering if Harrison was right. If this was all another game to Vincent, another way to use her before discarding her when she was no longer useful. I'm fine, she said. Just tired. We can rest after tonight. His thumb traced her cheek, the same gesture that had undone her hours before. I promise. Promises. Vincent was good at those. He promised her honesty, promised her a future, promised her a chance to matter again. But he'd also promised his brother he'd always have his back, right up until he'd let Mara put him behind bars. Vincent. She caught his hand, studying his face in the warehouse's harsh light. The hard drive you took from your brother's safe. Before he was arrested, the one with all the names on it.
Where is it?
For just a moment, his expression flickered. Surprise, maybe calculation. Then it was gone, replaced by the easy charm she'd fallen for twice now. What hard drive? And there it was. Another lie. Another layer of deception in the endless game they'd been playing since the night they met. Nothing, she said, stepping back from his touch, just thinking out loud. But she wasn't thinking. She was drowning. And for the first time since Vincent Corso had walked back into her life, Mara Chen began to plan for the possibility that she might have to destroy him. All over again? The Stone operation was supposed to be simple. Get in! Disable the security system, retrieve the synthetic drug stockpile, and get out. No one was supposed to die. Mara crouched behind a shipping container in Stone's warehouse, listening to gunfire echo off concrete walls. Everything had gone wrong the moment they'd stepped inside. Too much security, too many weapons. And Vincent was bleeding out 30 feet away, trapped behind overturned machinery, while Stone's men closed in. Mara. Vincent's voice was weak. Strained with pain, the exit's clear. Go. She could see the door he meant, could see her path to freedom. But she could also see Vincent clutching his side, could see the pool of blood spreading beneath him. 3 years ago, she'd saved his life in another warehouse. Tonight, she could do it again. Or she could take Harrison's deal, the hard drive. Was here? She'd seen Vincent retrieve it from a hidden panel before the shooting started. She could grab it, run, and trade Vincent's secrets for her freedom. I'm not leaving you, she called back. You have to. They'll kill us both. Maybe that's how this was always going to end. She broke cover, sprinting toward him while bullets whined past her head. She dove behind his makeshift shelter just as Stone's men reached the far side of their hiding spot. You beautiful, stupid woman, Vincent gasped, his face gray with blood loss. Why didn't you run? Because I love you, you bastard. The words tore from her throat, raw and honest, and 2 years too late. Because I've loved you since that first night in the coffee shop, when you looked at me like I was worth saving. Eyes widened. Mara, Harrison was right. I should have taken the deal. Should have traded you for my freedom. She pressed her hands against his wound, feeling warm blood seep between her fingers. But I can't. Even knowing you were planning to kill me after this job, I can't do it. Kill you?
Tell you?
Vincent's voice was horrified. What are you talking about? Showed me surveillance footage. Said you'd been planning my death since day one. Harrison's lying, Mara. Jesus, how could you think I'd hurt you? Because you're Vincent Corso. Because this is what you do. Not to you. Never to you. His hand covered hers, slippery with blood, but steady. You want to know about the hard drive? It's not just names of corrupt cops. It's evidence. Harrison and Stone have been working together. That Harrison's been taking money to look the other way while kids die. The words hit her like ice water. What? Harrison's been Stone's inside man for 3 years? He knew we were coming tonight because he told Stone we were coming? Vincent's breathing was getting shallower. The surveillance, the threats, the lies about me wanting you dead. It was all to turn you against me so you'd hand over the only evidence that could destroy him. Footsteps echoed closer. Stone's voice carried across the warehouse. Enough games. Come out now or we start shooting through the machinery. Mara looked at Vincent, seeing truth in his eyes, seeing love and pain and desperate honesty. All this time, she'd been the one being played. Not by Vincent, but by the system she'd once served. The drive, she said. Where is it? Vincent pulled it from his jacket, pressing the small device into her palm. Get out of here. Get this to someone who'll use it right, not without you. I'm dying, Mara. We both know it. No. She kissed him, fierce and desperate, tasting blood and goodbye. We do this together. All of it. She stood up, hands raised, the drive hidden in her sleeve. Stone emerged from behind a concrete pillar, flanked. Bye for gunmen. The cop and the criminal, Stone said, smiling. How romantic. Where's the drive, Vincent? What drive? Stone nodded to one of his men, who fired a shot into the machinery inches from Vincent's head. The one Harrison wants so badly. The one that apparently has my name all over it. Harrison's. Been lying to you, Mara said. It's like he's been lying to everyone else. Maybe. But I'm not taking chances. Stone's gun swung toward her. Last chance. Mara looked down at Vincent, seeing him nod almost imperceptibly. He understood. They both did. She pulled the pin on the grenade Vincent had slipped her during their kiss, the one he'd been saving as a last resort. You want the drive? Come and take it. The explosion lit up the warehouse like a dying star. When the smoke cleared and the sirens arrived, they found 2 bodies among the wreckage. Vincent and Mara, holding each other in the center of the blast zone. The hard drive clutched between their joined hands. Later, the news would report it as a gang war gone wrong. But Detective Rodriguez's widow, reading the encrypted files that arrived anonymously at the Seattle Times, knew better. She saw the evidence of corruption, saw the names and dates and dollar amounts that would bring down a network of dirty cops and dealers. She also found a note, written in Mara Chen's careful script. Tell them we chose each other. In the end, that's all that mattered. The end.